we're talking about wealth, not rich. So there is a difference. Being rich is having money. So having money freedom. But being wealthy is way beyond than that. It is having time freedom too. So we are talking money and time freedom here. And I believe time is more expensive than money. People say, well, I can't afford this and I'll do this when I have this, or, they are happy to go through the free stuff and try to figure out themselves. And it may take years to them. They don't realize time is more expensive than money. You can earn money back, but you can never earn the time back. So what we're going to be talking and going to be teaching you in this every weekly podcast is going to be how you can get wealthy, regardless of where you are right now. Doesn't matter what part of the world you are in, what circumstances you're in, everything what we'll be sharing here is going to be applicable at where you are right now. So it's the financial freedom plus the time freedom. This is what you'll be learning in this series.
Wow, that's amazing and interesting. And, I've had feedback, even just as yesterday, I had feedback from someone who had actually watched the Quantum Leap and was still amazed and so excited, So I heard a lot of people say, I was not born with a silver spoon, or my parents were so poor, I don't have anyone to help me, or even the right opportunity never came. So the word here is opportunity. And before I go into that, I remember that my husband's niece was with me a short while ago. And I asked her, I said, what do you want? And she came up with this list of why she couldn't have it. And one of the things was that I was not born, I'm from a poor family. I was not born with a silver spoon. I need to help me. These were some of the questions. So the word here is opportunity. What can you say about this? Is opportunity the exclusive reserve of just a few people?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked this question. And I think it's a great question to actually cover that. I'm sure a lot of people can probably feel that way. If you don't have the awareness, this is where you would feel. Bob used to say this, and I'm a strong believer of this now, that you have acres of diamonds around you right now. In other words, you have so many opportunities around you right now, but you may not be able to see them as they are. Like, it's like like say if you're living in the same place and if someone is living in a messy place, then they get so used to it and they don't really find it messy even. And when someone else walks in, they're like, oh my God, you've got all this clutter everywhere. But because you get so used to it, you don't really see it. And this is similarly, you have got so many opportunities around you and you're just not able to recognize them. Now, one of the things which may have been a problem and you may not be able to see the opportunity is because of your own paradigms. Now, we always talk about, this is what the Paradigm Shift Institute is about. Paradigms are multitude of habits. It's a deprogramming in the subconscious mind. Now, paradigms control your perception too. So you may be used to seeing half glass empty, but when paradigm is shifted, you will start focusing on half glass full. And it's really amazing how paradigms let us see the world from the lenses, from the lenses where you feel there's a lackness of the opportunities. Whereas when they are shifted, you would see the opposite, that there's so many opportunities that how do I handle that? And another one is, and I really love this because opportunity, you don't have them, you create them. That's another perspective to look at it, right? And in my story, people who know me and who are going to be reading this story, I could have probably blamed very easily that I didn't have any opportunity back then. I could have very easily given up that, well, I just need to get married and start my life and just live the way my circumstances gave me. But no, I decided, no, this is not how I want to live. And then right there and then, when I made that decision, when I acted in a certain way, those things which were right there, those people who helped me to get to where I am, they were right there. They wouldn't have helped me if I didn't see them. And if my perception didn't allow me to see them as an opportunity, to see them as a help that they could help me, So the opportunities are there. It's just that you're not able to see that. That might be an issue. And paradigms is a big one, which is going to help you to really shift your perception around that. And how do we do that? This is what we're all about. So if that is what you're struggling with, reach out to us. Would love to have a chat with you. And another perspective I want to add is, to conclude this answer, that you may see all these things around you where you feel, well, I don't have the money, I don't have this, well, I don't have the opportunity, this is the circumstance or the situation I'm living in. Now, that is because you're trying to work against it. What we're saying is you shouldn't be working against that. You should be working in a certain way with that. You use that as use pain as a power, use crisis as really a propulsion. It gives you a reason why you should. Really see that as a strength rather than seeing that as, oh my God, I can't really make it happen. So it's really how you control your perception around, and you will start to see the opportunities in that. If someone is struggling, they are poor, they say, well, I don't have the resources. I can tell that with so much confidence, that is because you're not acting in a certain way. Now, what that certain way is, we're going to be touching that in all the podcasts, and that is, you're not working by law, you're working against the law. It's like in the ocean, if something is there and it's trying to really fight to stop it, it's not going to be possible. Whereas it's trying to really get the power of the water to lift it up. You really have the leverage of doing that. So start thinking outside the box, I would say. And an example might be Uber, right? Those people, they sat in the garage, they made a plan to start a company which is operating all over the world right now. They didn't have that balance. They didn't really sit down and, well, make an excuse, well, we don't have the opportunity of having millions of dollars in our account. They didn't have the opportunity of having the contacts or the insurance companies they owned that they could insure all those vehicles. No, they really acted and thought in a certain way that now, without investing anything, they have got this company all around the world, and they don't even own a single car. This is certain way, right? This is finding opportunity where you actually are trying to focus on seeing the problem. You're turning that into an opportunity, really seeing that as an opportunity and making it happen. So really come out of that mindset of this being victim. No, that is there for a reason, and use that opposite to make it happen. Create the opportunities.
I love how you said that we are surrounded by diamonds. Yeah. That is so powerful, which means that if you open your eyes, you will find an opportunity. So we agreed that wealth is down to an exact science. Okay, I think you mentioned it in the last episode also, that it's like a mathematical formula. I'm not sure people are really aware of that. However, that exact science, as you have said, is based on universal laws. So there is one fundamental thing that we need to know, and I'm sure that people want to know what it is. Could you share more on that?
Yeah, this is another powerful question. One fundamental thing. There's so many things coming in my mind, but I would say the most fundamental thing I can think is our thoughts. This is the only power which can produce the tangible results, the wealth, from an idea. This podcast started with an idea, with a thought in the mind. This is exactly what we're doing right now. I just dropped my mom at airport. She's going to fly. That was an idea. The plane flight was an idea in someone's mind before actually it came in a physical form. Everything, we are connected through internet all around the world. That was someone else's idea before it came into form. So everything starts with the fantasy, with the, then there is a process that fantasy can be turned into a fact, but we truly, live in a thought world. And that thought world is the part of thought universe. And Bob used to say this: what you can think in your mind, see in your mind, feel in your heart, you can have it in your hands. It does start here. So really ask yourself, whatever your dream or the goal is, we asked you guys to think about that in the last podcast. So what that goal is for you, what that purpose is, the dream you want to achieve, ask yourself, what are your thoughts around that in your mind all day long? Everything, like we just touched on that, everything is started with the thought. However, not everyone is able to get to their results though. You may say, well, I want to be rich. I always, I keep thinking of how I'm going to be rich, but I'm not getting the results though. If it was that easy, then I think about that all day long. Why my thoughts are not turned into the reality? Well, the answer is because you're not thinking in a certain way. I can guarantee that everyone who is struggling, and if they start thinking in a certain way, they are guaranteed to win. This is a pure science. Now, how do you do that? We touched on that, universal laws. And the Paradigm Shift Institute is all around helping you to use the power of your mind to shift your paradigms, to think in a certain way. And person can really form anything, the result they really want, by impressing their thoughts upon a formless substance. How powerful is that? Like, all you need to do is in your subconscious mind, impress the thoughts. Now, how do we do that? Okay, let's go and look into a couple of examples. I would say, for example, if you're sick and you think, well, that's all the thoughts I get, in my mind, because I'm sick and I'm just thinking about the sickness all the time. And guess what? This is exactly what you're going to keep getting more of. So when we say that thought needs to be focused on what is true. Now, in this example, even though you are feeling unhealthy right now, but the true essence of us is being healthy. So you focus your thoughts on becoming healthy. Similarly, if you're struggling financially and you're just being controlled by your senses and you keep looking at your account and controlled by the lackness of things, then this is what you're going to keep getting. Whereas you should be focusing your thoughts to what is the reality. The reality is it's abundance everywhere. Like, everywhere you see, there's an opportunities, there's resources. It's just that you need to start thinking of what is the reality instead of what you're feeling is, okay, the results I'm seeing using my senses are, this is the balance I have in my account, but this is not true. Money is there, it's present right now. It's just that you need to tap into that frequency. And when you start doing that in certain way, and one of the thing in thinking into result, and I'm so much fond of that, there's 12 steps we take you through in that journey. And that helps you to think in that certain way with the structure, with simple steps. Then you know that how you can use the power of your own thoughts to create the results you're after. So what we're discussing here in the podcast, obviously I can share so much within 20 minutes, what we cover in 12 months, but I'm there to really help you get unstuck. We are there to help you get you unstuck so you can lift yourself and really start seeing the opportunity where you are right now and really start thinking in certain way that takes you to where you want to get to.
That's so very interesting. I know. I love the bit about the formless substance. Do you know that just puts an image in my mind, and it brings those possibilities alive, you know? So what I want to share a story. And I just had this conversation with my friend, I think just yesterday. And it is so apt in, speaking about opportunities being right there in your face. So my friend is a platform speaker and has had the privilege to speak on very notable platforms. She's based in the UK, but she found it difficult to sell. And in fact, she had no program to sell. So she was just speaking with a friend, and the friend asked her, so all those places you go, what have you sold? And she said, I haven't sold anything. And her friend said to her, make sure that the next time you are on any platform, you have something to sell.
Right.
And she was thinking to herself, what can I sell? What can I sell? And then it was like an epiphany, like an aha moment. And she said, but all the while that I was doing my 9 to 5, I was still able to earn 6 figures. How did I do that? And she sat down and created a masterclass there and then. And then. She has a masterclass going that she's going to start sometime in September, based on, so the opportunity was always there inside her, but she could not see it.
Yeah.
So obviously, opportunity is not monopolized. It's not for an exclusive few. So for anyone who thinks that that is the case, well, I'm sure you have it now.
Yeah.
So Anu.
That's powerful. Thank you for sharing this story, because it really talks about exactly what we're saying, right? Starting with the thought. And when she started asking, what can I sell? And she started thinking in a certain way.
Yeah. So before we round off, I know that you don't want everyone to just go away without some activity. So what would you want the listeners to go away with this week?
The very first thing I would say, and as part of the podcast too, we have talked quite a lot around thoughts. So what I would say, based on what your goal you have decided that you want to achieve, that you want to, for this week, really be intentional, that you want to pay attention to your thoughts around your goal, that whatever your thought is, that whatever your goal is, that what are your thoughts you're having around that goal? Is that a negative thought? Is that making you feel doubtful that whether you can achieve or not? Or is that something which is you're just absolutely sure you're going to get that? So you really pay attention to your thought, because once you're aware, then only you can change them. So the first step, let's do this. Be more aware of what are your thoughts for this week towards your goal. And, if it is a doubt, then we know that we need to change the doubt into a faith. So pay attention. And if you find or have any aha moments or have any questions around that, I would say, reach out and put it in the group and tag any one of us, and we'll be there to cheer you up, to help you. And I want to say this to conclude, just remember this. If you have a doubt, if your thoughts are coming up with a doubt instead of a faith, just remember you cannot have faith and doubt together. Doubt is like a sin. Really try to refrain away from everything which is going to make you feel doubtful about your goal, whether it is some people's in your life, or whether it is, that an environment where you're watching news or whatever, which takes you away from that idea, which makes you feel doubtful about your ability to reach that goal. We need to stay away from that.